Hello everyone, this is Token Ninja, and I'm here for the next episode of Backlog Sweep. This week we take a look at the game called Firewatch. Now for the overview. Firewatch is a first-person adventure game. It's basically a walking simulator closer to the vein of Stanley's Parable than Dear Esther. It's developed by Campo Santo, published by Panic, directed by Jake Rodkin, and released February 9th, 2016. It's available for the PC, Mac, Linux, and PS4, and it currently costs $19.99 on Steam. The story. You play as Henry, a volunteer fire lookout assigned to the tower in the Shoshone National Forest in Wyoming, 1989. The intro for me was not what I expected. I was expecting something more along the lines of a mix between The Incredibles and Tangled, something with feeling of new adventure, going through the woods, and just character progression. What I got was up. But for the game overall, it felt like Lost. It was intriguing at first, and the mystery kind of grows, and you kind of have your theories of what's going on, and you're trying to figure out, who's behind what, and what's actually happening. And the end was a bit meh. It was really not that fulfilling. It kind of came to an abrupt stop. So it has that lost arc. The game is narrative driven. It's very well written, and the story carries the game. I don't know why I managed to pick two very narrative driven games in a row, but hey, that's what happens. So during the story, you play as Henry, and you interact with your supervisor, Delilah. And as the story grows, you see the progression of your guys' relationship, how it grows around what's happening, around the mysteries and, the emotions of, I guess, the summer of 1989 and what's happening at the Shoshone National Forest. You see a bit of development for Henry. You kind of you start to understand Henry more as the game progresses. You don't see too much development from Delilah. You do see a little development in yourselves, guys. And during the game, you have a lot of chances to make different choices. And I actually stumbled a couple times when I had to make a choice because I was debating whether I wanted to make a choice that I would make personally or one that I thought Henry would make, which didn't always match up. So I had that dissonance every so often. It didn't happen all the time, just a couple times. But I did have that dissonance. So the mechanics. The backstory, the introduction, is kind of a choose-your-own-adventure narration, where you were presented sometimes with choices, sometimes not with choices, where it's like, this is apparently what I do. And like I was stating earlier, it was kind of like Up. It was, it started out like, oh, all right, this person's life, you're kind of getting a feel for it, and it's like, oh, depressing. But what was great about it is it made it feel like the small choices mattered. I try not to spoil too much of the game when doing my semi reviews, but I felt like the small choices mattered because it'd be like, oh, how do you pose? And it's like, oh, I pose like either He-Man or Victoria's Secret model or whatever. And later on you see in like the journal or a book that your wife Julia had drawn you in the book. So you kind of felt like your choices mattered, which gave the illusion that more important, the bigger choices you made would play into effect later on. However, with that being said, from my experience and what I understand, your bigger choices don't really matter. The only thing that really changes is how you interact with Delilah, like certain things you can say to her and how she'll react. That's kind of the broadness of how the game changes per each playthrough. You're not gonna really get a side path. There's not gonna be like certain quests you can unlock. The story will end generally how it ends, which is a shame a bit. I wish there was a bit more branching like storylines, but that's that. Um, the game will feature mostly walking. You can jog, but that's barely any faster than running. You can use a map and compass to navigate the terrain relatively well. It definitely helps you out. And it's fairly simple to understand. And you have the kind of basic press space to do actions, which, like, you can't really die. Because of your own mistake. Like, you're not gonna fall off a cliff and die. You press space to jump over, or climb up a wall. Jump over a little gap. Part the bushes to go ahead. So and you can interact, like pick up different items like books, which don't seem to have anything tied to them. But yeah, that's the general like interactivity with the game. But the biggest part, aside from that, is how you communicate with Delilah. You have a walkie-talkie, and you can talk to Delilah, your supervisor, and you talk to her about the things you see. You can like report different things, and you progress the story by talking to her. And that is what I feel makes this game a game. It's the thing that binds the entire game together is your communication with Delilah. All right, so visuals. As you can tell, the game is very stylized. It's stunning, and it's even at times breathtaking. Like, a lot of times I'm just gonna pause from the game and look around at nature because it looks so beautiful. Like, I feel like I'm in nature, and it actually makes me want to go out and go camping again and things like that. I personally had a graphical glitch where in the early parts of the game, I couldn't even see my map. And for the entire game, I couldn't zoom into my map. So I wasn't able to even use my map to navigate that well. But I was still able to use it, but it kind of made navigation a bit difficult. The thing I really like about the game is you get a disposable camera, and you can take different pictures. And at the end of the game, you can go and get the pictures basically developed and sent to you, as if, it was the 90s and you had a disposable camera. And the pictures, I got mine, and they look beautiful. I love it. It looks really great. And, I'm hoping you can get more than one, because I want to go through playthrough and actually get good pictures. But, we'll see how that goes. And on to audio. As you are in nature, you're going to be getting a lot of ambient sound, because it kind of encapsulates your loneliness. You don't really see too many other people. Delilah, who you talk to all the time, you don't, she's far off in a different, section of the woods. Only in the beginning do you actually see other people. So it's mostly ambient sound. You're going to get birds chirping, the wind rustling in the trees, those type of sounds, which definitely adds to the feeling of the game. The music does pick up as something's about to happen or is happening. So when you hear music, you're like, oh, okay, something's happening. And the music does definitely contribute to, how you're supposed to feel. You have some more mysterious type music. In some instances, it's intense music. It's oh, I gotta be sneaky. Oh no, I don't want to get caught, kind of a thing. So while you don't have the soundtrack there most of the game, when it's there, it is very well done. And so I guess overall, the visuals and audio are what carry the game, because, the story too, but the voice acting was just superbly done. Rich Sommer does the voice of Henry. Cissy Jones does the voice of Delilah. I think there's 4 other voice actors. They don't really have a prominent role, at least as these two do, and they knock it out of the park. In part due to the story, but in part due to just how they, whether it's not how they worked well together or just how just superbly they were able to do the voice acting. The voice acting and the story, it felt real, it felt human. A lot of the times, like something like Delilah would say something, and I would say something, and then lo and behold, I was prompted, and what I said was there, and I thought that was really just it brought me into the game, and the voice acting, the story, the visuals, that's what kind of that's the meat of the game. That's what's going to bring you in. That's what's going to keep you to stay. And so from my experience, it took me 4 hours to complete. I got all 5 achievements, which, everyone will get if you finish the game, because it's basically in different chapters. Once you finish them, you'll get the achievement, basically. Honestly, I got a bit bored through the game. Without being able to use my map, for the most part, I got a tad lost a couple times. Like, I get turned around, but it was just a lot of walking, and what kept me going was the voice acting, the story. Like, I was like, oh, what's gonna happen next? I want to talk to Delilah again. That's what kept me, pushing through to the next, basically checkpoint. As I said before, the ending felt a little abrupt, and it was a bit of a letdown, and I really wish there was more to the game. The game felt a bit empty. I was really glad it was very, focused on the story, but I felt it would have benefited from having maybe a couple days in between where you're able to walk around, or maybe some side quests, but something that maybe broke up the story a little bit would have been great. Achievements, a variety of achievements could have definitely helped in replayability. There's a bunch of books, but as far as I can tell, there's, it's just their books. Like, if there's, say, achievement, pick up, all the different type, copies of the books, it gives you something to strive for. Or like I remember there was a Left 4 Dead, it was a Noam Chomsky, and it's where you take Noam Chomsky through the end of the, all the levels or whatever. Like, maybe something like that with a pine cone. I'm not really sure, because you can carry things, but that would have been, something that would, get me to play the game again. And just overall, I just wished that my choices made a bigger change to the story or the ending. It didn't feel like it did. And I think the biggest detriment to me, for the most part, is I never found the turtle. Like, I went into the game knowing that there was a turtle. I wanted to find the turtle, and I wanted to take all my pictures with the turtle, but I never found the turtle, and it made me super sad. And so, if anything, the turtle is what's going to get me to play the game again. Not saying it's a bad game, or that I'm not going to play it because of the story, but I just really want the turtle, because I like turtles. But yeah, I might play because of the story and whatnot, but it doesn't feel like there's too much of a replayability factor, for me at least. Now, is Firewatch worth $20? Probably not. It's a game that most people are going to play once. It's definitely an experience that will stay with you. So I definitely, I won't forget Firewatch for a while. But I would definitely suggest playing the game, getting the game. But I'd say it's probably more along the lines of the $10, $12, $15 mark is definitely a more reasonable price to wait to get the game for. But yeah, once again, this has been Oki Ninja doing my backlog sweep of Firewatch. Until next time, game on.